About that, and what a way to go down. Look, Ron Harper Jr.'s dad played a long time in the NBA. I don't know if he had a wilder finish than that, where he sunk a shot. 30-10 for the kid. Great night. Rutgers plus 625 on the money line. They were getting 13.5. He didn't need them. And how about the over-under comes in under by 1 point, despite the heave, to win the game from Ron Harper Jr. Let's bring in Matt Norlander and find out what's what. Matt, all right, it's an exciting finish. Fun night. Great for the home team. Gets college basketball storming the court. I get it. What else should we take from this, given the fact it is December, but it is the number one team going down?
Yeah, this outcome has significant meaning. Rutgers was 4-4 heading into this game with bad losses on its schedule. Rutgers expected to be an NCAA tournament team, at least in the mix in the preseason. Little indication that was going to be the case. This kind of win, we'll see what Rutgers is from here on out, EK, but this is the kind of win that could ultimately be the difference between Rutgers making the NCAA tournament or the NIT later. For Purdue, never been number one before. Its first game. This calls to mind, I believe, Florida in the mid-aughts got to the number one ranking for the first time in program history. It promptly played Kentucky within 24 hours of getting that ranking and got blasted and lost. Purdue, never been number one until this week, loses its first game. Travion Williams with a beautiful play at the end there. I'm going to call that a 40-foot buzzer beater from Ron Harper Jr. So big picture, I think it means way more for Rutgers than it does Purdue. Also, at the top of the polls, by the way, Gonzaga was number one in the preseason. Then Gonzaga lost. Duke took it. Duke lost. Purdue took it. Purdue loses. Who's in line? Baylor hosts Villanova on Sunday in arguably the best game of the weekend in the sport. If Baylor can hold serve at home, your reigning national champions will appropriately be the number one team when the polls refresh on Monday.
I suppose Purdue will take the success Florida had if they're going to follow that path, who ended up winning a couple of titles after they lost their first game as number one. We'll see about Purdue and the Boilermakers as they go. Forget what the rankings, and you pointed out and have already done the work on exactly what's going to happen. If Baylor wins, they'll go to number one. Soup to nuts, who's been the best team that you've seen so far this year?
Man, you know, if it wasn't for Purdue's performance tonight, it would have been Purdue. I've actually seen Purdue in person. Overall, soup to nuts, it's Arizona. Arizona is scoring more than 90 points per game on average and holding opponents to fewer than 60. It's a plus 32 in scoring margin nightly. It's the greatest margin by far in the sport. Arizona, I think, is a top three team in college basketball. It, by the way, has a road game against Illinois this weekend. Those two schools have a little bit of a history with fantastic games of their own. So to answer your question directly, I would say Arizona narrowly over Baylor. I don't really give too much flack for Purdue in this one. Ron Harper Jr. made a couple of great plays. By the way, salvaged himself after a turnover, I think on the anti-penultimate Rutgers possession. That means second to last, anti-penultimate. Add it to your to your sayings there. I know EK knows what I'm talking about here. Huge, 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 huge. But I go Arizona, and then Purdue's not that far behind. This is a road game. And one last thing on this, I got to mention this. If this had happened a season ago, regardless of the teams involved, it would have been an awesome moment. But look at what we are seeing here. We're still in the midst, as my co-host on the Eye on College Basketball podcast, Gary Parrish, says, the dumbest pandemic of our lifetimes. So I understand that. But to have fans back in these buildings to experience that, it makes that shot all the more memorable. And I think you can say safely, Ron Harper Jr. on Thursday night hit the biggest and most crazy shot in the history of Rutgers basketball.
There you go. Well done, Matt Norlander. And you want more Matt Norlander? You need more Matt Norlander? We have more Matt Norlander. You can check it out. The Eye on College Basketball podcast, part of our great family of CBS Sports podcasts. You download, you subscribe, you enjoy.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.